Hi parents, hello. I wanted to come on today to share with you guys some exciting news actually, because today, just today, the AFCC, actually let me just pull up that so that I can share it with you guys. So AFCC and the NCJFCJ just released a joint statement on parent-child contact problems. Now, so the AFCC is the Association of Family and Conciliation Courts, and the NCJFCJ is the National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges. So these are really, really important organizations. They have judges, they have lawyers, they have all the important people that are involved in family court cases, especially to do with custody situation and dispute and things like that. By the way, let me know if you can actually hear me. I wanted to make sure that you can actually hear me. So anyway, so they actually released a joint statement. These two organizations released a joint statement on parent-child contact problems. And the exciting things about this is, and hi Tracy, I saw your message. You said I'm looking for an advocate in Michigan. Can you explain a little bit more what exactly you're looking for? Okay, so as far as the statement concerned, let me share with you guys so that we walk through it and I show you guys why it's so exciting, because actually a part of this statement is acknowledging that parent-child contact problems can be caused by parental alienating behaviors. So that's really important. So let's look at that document together. I see Aubrey is responding to Tracy in the chat room. Thank you. Okay, so are we seeing this? You can see this document, right? Let's make it a little bit bigger so that it's easier, hopefully, for you to see. Okay, so you notice this is AFCC and the NCJFCJ joint statement on parent-child contact problem. And so they are saying that the problems, they said, most of the time, when parents separate or divorce, things are okay, but sometimes, the relationship between the parent and the child is strained or problematic, and children are at great risk. And so a lot of this problem is caused by, gender and politicized assumption that either parental alienation or intimate partner violence is a diminutive issue. And then it also talking about, other stuff, like, for example, indiscriminate abuse of services, lack of understanding, etc. And it does indicate the lack of education among family law practitioners and lack of resources. So that's really, really important. And then they said their position is that we need to adopt a child-centered approach, which have always been our position here, is that children have to be the focus. It's the children are the true victim, and they are the one that suffers the first. So we really need to focus on that. And so we are really happy that they are taking the same approach. One of the aspects that they're talking about is that, and they do acknowledge that improving parent-child relationship is really important for children. And then they talk about so they said one of the solution to this is to have professionals to have better education, a better knowledge. So specialized knowledge, the skills are necessary to work. And they said family law practitioners, so lawyers, therapists, psychologists, and all that, should receive regular and ongoing training. And part of the training should include recognizing, that relate with factors relating to parent-child contact problems, and including parental alienating behaviors. So that's really important. They are acknowledged that professionals, lawyers, and professionals need to be trained on parental alienating behaviors, and then screen for safety factors, screen for conflict between parents. And then another thing they said, everyone may need to fully consider all factors that contribute to parent-child contact problem. And so they list some of the things that they consider to be a factor of parent-child contact problem. And one of those is, let me just see somewhere in here, is parental alienating behaviors. Am I seeing it? It's right here. So parental alienating behaviors. So what this statement is acknowledged that parental alienation does happen, and when it does, parental alienating behaviors can cause parent-child contact problems. So this is why it's so important. And then, yeah, there's more discussion here about other things. But the point is, these are really important organizations, and for them to acknowledge this is really important, because you're looking at the NCJFCJ is an organization that consists entirely of the judges, family court judges, all around the country. This is a very powerful organization. All the judges that are ruling your cases are a part of this organization. And so when this organization acknowledged that parental alienating behaviors can cause parent-child conflict problems, then contact problems, then that's a good thing. That's a very good step, because when you go to court, now you know that judges, their organization acknowledges this. The same with AFCC. AFCC is full of lawyers that practicing in family court cases. Okay. We see Christina said, yeah, great, thank you. Tracy said, custody advocate for FOC. Sorry, what is FOC? Tracy said, my twins are 15 and not being allowed to have the same court, and I'm being alienated. This is a very common situation. Sometimes you actually, sometimes the situation is when children speak up. Actually, I think they mentioned this. Actually, your statement actually reminded me of something important. So let's go back to that. Because I think they mentioned something here about the child. Okay, let me just see it. Because I think they also mentioned about the children's voice. Okay, here it's actually, the statement is actually right here. It said, children should have the opportunity to express their views in family justice matter that concerns them. And the stated view of the children are not necessarily determinative of their best interest. So that's really good. Is that one is that they acknowledge that the children should be acknowledged. The children should have a chance to express their view. But it's very important for professionals to recognize that sometimes children may be coached. So even though they might say something, but if you don't truly understand how the children say something, whether they're being coached, whether they're being programmed to say something, so it's very important so they are able to acknowledge that children have the right, but at the same time they acknowledge that the best interest of the children may not be the same as what the children say. Okay, Tracy, you can find this from AFCC website, NCJFCJ website, and we are going to be posting this as well, so you can get that information. Tracy said, today I received an order that states I cannot file another motion. Whoa, that is interesting. I assume that you have been in and out of courts too much, maybe. Brent said, Brenna said that they should be acknowledged except when they lie or brainwash. Yeah, so I think that's why the statement here is quite important, where you said the stated views of the children are not necessarily determinative of their best interest, and there are multiple factors that may contribute to children expressing views that do not reflect their best interest. And so family justice practitioners should understand the basis for the children express wishes and acknowledge their rights. So I think that's really important, because now we have something that really not only they acknowledge that parental alienation is real and that it contributes to parent-child contact problems, it also encourages education and training in judges and professional and lawyers that are practicing in family law matters, as well as acknowledge the need to recognize that children may not say things that are truly expressing their best interest. So, Tracy, so you mentioned that you got an order that prevent you from filing another motion. I don't know your case enough to comment a lot, but I'm going to assume that if you can't go at the level that you are, then perhaps it's time to look into appeal. That is probably another option. I don't know. Let me talk to your lawyers, and because like I said, I don't really know your case enough. May said, hello, Petra. Thank you for your amazing job. Thank you so much, May. Really grateful for your support. Thank you, everyone, for your support. Please help share this. We are going to post this statement on our website, and you can also find this, like I said, from AFCC website as well as NCJFCJ website. And then please join me tomorrow, because tomorrow I am interviewing Judge Linda Fitnick, who is the president of the AFCC, and we're going to talk about a program that she developed to help prevent adversarial court process. Okay, Mariska said, I agree that the focus needs to be on the child, but the courts need to recognize that the best interest of the child does not equal to the child's expressed wishes. Yeah, I agree, and that's exactly what they actually put in the statement here, which is really nice. And by focusing on children's wishes encourage alienating behavior, a child's best interest is to be part of a healthy family system with extended family, friends, and community. I agree, especially with we're talking about safe and loving parents. Yeah, the current family court process breaks down the family system and the healthy dynamics the child needs. I think the challenge is being able to identify and separating between a safe and loving parent and an unsafe parent, and recognizing physical abuse as well as psychological abuse. I think that's the challenge right now, is that domestic violence advocates will say that, oh, you know, a lot of children are subjected to domestic violence. And so in that situation, you do need to protect and keep the child safe, and we do agree with that. But we also need to recognize that there are situations where there are false allegations of domestic violence, which is very common in cases of parental alienation, especially severe cases. So the challenge that we see is that the court needs to be able to recognize and identify true aggressor, and especially when the abuser is a psychological aggressor. You know, when we're talking about an alienator who is brainwashing and programming the children. So that is still the challenge that we need to be able to identify and recognize. And I saw a lot of your comments. I posted a question today, and a lot of people have responded, and I appreciate it and agree with the question about reunification therapy, where people talk about how the court failed to enforce the order and recognize the problem. So I totally agree that the court play a big role in that. Mike said this is a great step towards us parents that have been alienated from our children, and will help them understand what happened, stay strong, and we can get them back. Definitely, Mike. Really, I think truly having that, holding on to that conviction is so important. It's really the core part of getting your children back, because it starts from here first. And if you give up your hope, then everything that you do, whether you intentionally or not, it's going to reflect out, you know, how you feel. So Mariska said, correct identification of the perpetrator and the victim at the beginning of the process, rather than just labeling parents as high conflict. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Actually, I vaguely remember, I think, did they mention it in this statement too, about being able to identify the right aggressor? Let me just see. If I see it, I'll show you guys. Maybe not. Maybe I saw it somewhere else. Yeah, some of the things that I thought was also good in this statement is they also acknowledge that the adversarial process and litigation is also participating, and the interparental conflict is also part of this parent-child contact problem. So I thought that was also good. I don't think they mentioned about determining who is the aggressor and perpetrator. But anyway, that's fine. But like I said, this is a very important step. Really, I think it's such an important step to get this acknowledgement from these very important organizations. So anyway, please join me tomorrow. I hope to see you guys tomorrow. Please bring your questions. Bring your questions for Judge Linda Fitnick tomorrow, and we're going to talk about how to bring in a less adversarial court process for custody cases. I'm very, like, I already talked to her and I already kind of understand her her process, but I still want to understand more, and especially if you guys have more questions for me to help me really dig deep into it, because I do want to implement her process in other states, especially we're going to start with Texas. But yeah, I want to really implement this. If it's really working and help reduce adversarial litigation process, then we definitely want to implement this to as many states as possible. So thank you, Nithi, thank you, Christine. So anyway, have a great night. Thank you, you guys. Bye.